Greeting all the players of my virtual traveling project on the second episode of this show. On the first episode a week ago, I told you in details about this project. I showed you all the advantages of using this method of Google Maps drawing. And we also found our destinations, because it is the virtual traveling, and we found out what destination we would like to visit. We found out how to use this technique of Google Map or sketching. And finally, we have created our first sketches to this project based on this new source of references. In this project, we will draw 4 sketches based on this technique, and we will be not only drawing, but we will also exploring this appealing destination for us. We will be wandering the streets and to try to find interesting spots for drawing. And I hope that you will manage to find some cute locations on the trails far from the touristic routes. And all this virtual traveling we will manage to do in our homes, completely free, just sitting in our cozy armchairs, just using Google Maps. And I showed you in details how to do it in the first video of the project. And I just want to remind you that my city of choice is Bangkok from Thailand. And write me in comments what destination have you chosen. Previous time I told you about advantages of drawing from this source, and I don't know how it could happen. I completely forgot that in my real life I have been living almost 40 years in the climate where the half of a year is winter, and with a huge amount of snow. It is in Siberia in Russia. It is, completely impossible to draw outside because it is freezing, everything is very cold, and it is just impossible. So this way of drawing, which I suggest you in this project, it will be a really great alternative for plein-airs, for people who live in this similar environment. So just try to apply it for your sketching practice. In this show I am going to draw some casual, very typical views on Bangkok using topics which we already touched in my previous big show about urban sketching. And I'm going to return to those topics again and again and continue my exploration. We have topics in this project, and previous time we were drawing wires. You can observe my previous sketch here, and you can see all these wires things. But we together already touched this topic of wires of in my previous show, Urban Sketching, A Big Adventure. I will put a link for this topic somewhere here, so you can go there, observe that object, and try to draw it together with us. And after that, so previous week on Friday, we returned to this topic again and focus on it. It was on a video to the project how we explore city views with the same giant object. You can also go to that playlist and start your exploration. It is the bonus video for this Google Map project. So I will put a link in the description and you can observe it in details. Acting this way, we unobtrusively explore the same topic in different scenes, from different angles and in different contexts. So we will continue this approach for some another topics. And after that we will analyze how could our perception of the topic be changed depending on different situations. The list of all topics from our big show Urban Sketching, a big adventure, I prepared the special PDF file, so you can return to any of these topics and draw them if you skipped some of my videos, or if you just want to draw but don't know what exactly to do. And here you can find a list which we already covered in my project and some guidelines how to do it in the best way. And I uploaded this PDF file with a list of topics in my free Telegram channel. I will put a link to it in the description and you can have it for free. So just grab it and continue your exploration. Today, accordingly to my previous plan, I planned to draw another topic and explore some new corner of Bangkok. But surprisingly, we will have something different. As for me, something even more interesting and more like a fairy tale-ish. I will draw some character, very cool character here inside this exact sketch, because on Monday in the video about adventures of expedition on the creative street, I will put a link here to this video, I found out that one of the most cunning and slickery guys, that flower mutant, who is the character from my imaginary city Tricksterburg, was seen on this exact crossroad in Bangkok. And by the way, what do you think? How could he got here? Let's reveal this mystery, how it was in the reality, and what has he done, what was he doing there. Maybe it really was there, maybe not, but they say that it was like that. Toadbloom Frogson was a sort of fellow who could sell a broken umbrella during a drought and still make you thank him for it afterwards. He was a small, springy frog-flowered creature from Tricksterburg with glossy green skin, white gold speckled eyes, and collar of soft glowing petals around his neck. The curious thing about these petals was that they never stayed the same color for long. When Toadbloom was calm, they glimmered a lazy turquoise. When he got excited, they flashed pink and orange like carnival lights. And whenever he was worried, truly worried, they turned the color of spoiled plum jam. At the moment, they were deep fuchsia. I spotted him shooting across a Bangkok intersection on a squeaky bicycle at such terrifying speed that even the taxi drivers looked offended. Now what, I wonder, was Toadbloom Frogson doing here? Who in their right mind would send that slippery little gambler so far from Tricksterburg, that charming cheat, that black alley negotiator, that professional borrower of money he never intended to return? And what were those enormous glowing things sticking out of his back? Flowers, at first glance, but not flowers. No, indeed. Those were swarms, antennas for snail postmen. In Tricksterburg, giant male snails carried letters through the foggy districts, and each snail wore one of these strange antennae fixed onto its shell, so it would not lose its way in the March mist. The antenna looked rather like a tropical flower after suffering a nervous breakdown. They were tall and flexible with translucent neon membranes instead of petals. Their glowing heads twitched gently in the air as if listening to invisible music. Little bubbles of swamp gas rolled inside them with a dreadful glug-glug-glug sound, and every few seconds they blinked in a poisonous shades of green, blue, and pink. One of them suddenly sneezed sparks. Toadbloom nearly flew off his bicycle. Now in Bangkok, such devices were considered extremely illegal contraband, highly praised by underground rainbow tracers who used them for navigating flooded canal tunnels at night. And Toadbloom naturally was carrying 3. He pedaled faster. You see, he was already late for the midnight floating market beneath overpass number 17, where tonight's exchange was to take place. 3 swamp snail antennas for 1 jar of fermented moon syrup. And the moon syrup was desperately needed by the Maid Duke of Tricksterburg, because, according to rumor, it was the only substance capable of making the sleepless river remember things it had forgotten. Unfortunately, several problems has appeared. First, suspicious men in dripping raincoats had begun following him 3 streets ago. Second, one of the antennas had started blooming prematurely and was now humming softly in a language that sounded distressingly suspiciously. And the third, perhaps worst of all, Toadbloom Frogson had accidentally swallowed the warehouse key. So, how do you like Toadbloom? Would you like to get familiar to him and find out his story and his adventures? Maybe even you would like to draw him together with me? Write in comments. I will adjust this sketch and show you my final sketch in my free Telegram channel. The link will be also in the description. And I suggest you also take your first sketch from this project, which you have done a week ago, which you were drawn based on some Google Map view, and draw there some unusual character, just anyone you like. And of course, I encourage you to show me your character in my Telegram channel, in the comments for today's post. Drop your sketch and write a couple of words about you, about your today's character, and about your today's impressions and emotions of today's video. And of course, about your today's sketching practice. And remember that more fun and more unusual character you will create, the better will be the result. And the better you will be prepared for our upcoming adventures together. And we will see each other tomorrow on my first episode of Adventures on the Crocodile Street. And by the way, have you already imagined the character which you are going to play in this expedition? You can watch my short pilot episode of this show to find out all the details about this project and start preparing for your upcoming adventure. And in my new Telegram post, the link will be in the description, I tell you about 2 simple actions you need to do before it, and you can start filling in the form for the member to become a member of the expedition. That's it for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, for drawing together, for laughing together, and that you were interested in the some bite of legend about my imaginary city Tricksterburg. Bye bye for now, and see you tomorrow. The adventure is calling.